One of the first things you may notice about the new Adobe Premiere Pro 2017 is that the user interface has gone through a few improvements. Let me point out some of the things that might look a bit different. I'm using the default editing workspace here. First up, many of the icons in the user interface have been replaced with scalable vector graphics, or SVG icons. One of the key benefits of SVG is that the icons stay clean as the user interface changes sizes. If you find yourself working on higher resolution displays or needing to work on devices like tablets or portable computers that use a high DPI or Retina display, you'll really notice that certain things appear cleaner. This is a great under-the-hood improvement. You'll also notice that buttons have gone through a slight change. Some of the user interface elements, such as sliders, are just a bit more polished. You'll notice here that things are a little bit rounded. And for example, as we're adjusting size in the timeline, we now have a clearer handle to make it easier to see what's happening as we adjust the height of tracks. I really like how the feedback makes it easier to tell what's going on here. Some of the other elements that were a bit difficult to see before include clearer sliders, so as you're moving through things, it gets to be a bit easier to understand where you are within tabs. Notice here that things tend to snap, and it's very easy to switch between them. With tabs as well, you'll notice that things are now brighter with clear white text and a distinct underline, making it very easy to tell which panel is active. This will help you find things so you'll clearly know what's selected within a group. I find this is very useful, and it's a subtle but important change. Across the board, you'll notice some improvements with the scroll bar. Let's just zoom in here. And you'll see that scroll bars have a greater visual indicator, making it easy to see where you're at within a scroll. The shade of blue used for accent colors has also been tweaked. Remember, you can go to your preferences and go to appearance and adjust this further, but you'll notice here that we have a brightness control. Here's the default value. We'll just set those all back to default. But notice here that we can, of course, adjust the overall shade and that the highlight color can be refined, going to a lighter version or a more saturated. The default works pretty well, although sometimes I'll set that just a shade lighter so it really pops. And we also have the focus indicators to help understand which panel is active. Notice here, by setting that to a slightly lighter shade, it's very easy to tell what's going on. This is important because, for example, knowing which panel is active, I can use the shortcut to take that window full screen. But that's dependent upon the active panel, and it's great to clearly see which panel is in focus as I'm working. Adobe Premiere Pro has been around for a long time, and I'm glad to see that Adobe is continuing to focus on some of the small details. After all, an attractive program to look at is easier on the eyes, and these new changes are really well designed to help you know exactly where you're working, which button or tab is active, and what zoom level you're at. I think you'll find these subtle changes welcome, and it means that the user interface isn't dramatically revised, but it's just easier to tell exactly what you're doing and where you're at.